want to welcome you to the 15th annual Florence Athletic Hall of Fame induction ceremony. This is an exciting time for all involved in getting to this night and for the tremendous Florence athletes, past, present, and future, that will benefit from this appreciation. We are extremely proud of our Florence athletic heritage and all over her hometown heroes who have entertained and inspired us over a long and illustrious history of the sport. Tonight, we are fortunate to have the opportunity to introduce to you 7 of those outstanding people who have earned the distinction of the class of 2020. My name is Mark Wade. I am the president. This will be my last term as president, and I'd like to introduce you to the dedicated Hall of Fame Board of Directors who have volunteered numerous hours. And when I say numerous hours, we spend a lot of hours. This is not something that's just thrown together and we throw some names in a pot and pick them out. We spend a lot of hours in doing this. I would like for them to stand wherever they are. Missy Burgess, right here. Sean Ellerby, Danny Ellerby, David Hanna, Gerald Holly, Melissa Gerald, Jeff Jeffers, Bobby Montrose, Rocky Rigovich, Derick Urquhart, who will be the incoming president, and Carlos Washington. Let's give them a round of applause. I would like to recognize, since I wasn't at the table, I don't know who all might be here, but I would like to recognize any members of our city and county councils, if you will stand at this time. Let's give them a round of applause. And our Florence School Board, I think they're over here, if you will stand. And if you haven't noticed all the great improvements that have been done here to the Florence Center, it's called the Florence Center now, not the Florence Civic Center. But we have some of our commission board members here tonight and some of our members of the Florence Center. If y'all would stand. And now our title sponsors, I would like to introduce 3 of them from Chick-fil-A, who we are so appreciative. It would really be tough to do this without them. If y'all would stand and be recognized, I won't introduce all of our sponsors by name, but I would like to do Chick-fil-A. Mark Drummond. Representing Blake Pate tonight is Laura, I think it's Strongton, I think I pronounced that right, I'm sorry. And Chris Timmons. Chris. Those are considered our title sponsors. Then we go to our All-American sponsors. Florence One Schools, of course. Lawrence Timmons, M&M Printing and Graphics, and A1 Medical. Groucho's Deli, Little Caesars, the Havakos family, and then our all-conference sponsors, of course, Pepsi, the Florence County Gamecock Club, our all-city sponsors, Pearl Moore, Jiffy Lube of Florence, and the Florence Red Wolves. If we could, let's give all of them a round of applause. So on behalf of us, I personally would like to welcome you to the 2020 induction ceremony. We have an outstanding program planned for you tonight, as well as an unbelievable meal you will enjoy. You may eat as much as you want. So just sit back, relax, and enjoy this memorable celebration. At this time, I want to introduce our MC. Many of you know him, Mr. Bob Wilson. I want to welcome him back for his 4th year. He's been our MC ever since I've been on the board. Does an outstanding job. He is currently the athletic director at South Florence. He was teaching social studies at South Florence before being named AD in 2013. Prior to his position at South Florence, Bob spent 29 seasons coaching basketball in the Florence area from 1980 to 2009, coaching at Francis Marion, West Florence, and Wilson. At Wilson, he guided the Tigers to a 76-31 mark and the 2007 Class 3A state champions, the first in school history. A Kentucky native, Wilson was a standout at Francis Marion from 1978 to 1980. He co-captained the 1979-80 Patriot squad and helped that team to win a 24-7 mark by averaging 13.7 points per game and sinking 100 of 112 free throws. Wilson ended his career owning the Patriot men's record for free throw accuracy, both single season and career. Following his playing career, he was later named to the FMU All-Decade team for the 70s and was selected to the Patriots Hall of Fame in 2011. He later returned to his alma mater as assistant coach on the staff of Lewis Hill. During his 8 seasons on the Patriot bench, Francis Marion posted a 143-100 mark, captured the 1991 District 6 title, and made the program's only appearance in the NAIA National Tournament in 1991. At this time, I'd like to welcome Mr. Bob Wilson.
Thank you, Mark. Once again, it's my pleasure to be here to serve as your MC for the Florence Athletic Hall of Fame induction ceremony. I look forward to this event every year because you can't get this many people that had such an impact on athletics and the history of athletics in the city of Florence in one place at one time. So I look forward to this every single year. I look forward to seeing old friends, which at one time were not old friends but are now, and a lot of acquaintances I've made along the way being involved here in athletics in Florence. This is my 42nd year in Florence, South Carolina, and I've been involved in athletics in one capacity or another the entire time. Athletics is a special relationship in that you can build these lifelong friendships with teammates, with coaches, sometimes with fans, and even occasionally with officials and opponents. So it's one of those things that I've really benefited from in my time in Florence. The other thing that I look forward to is each year among the inductees, I find that there are contemporaries of mine, people my age, that we played together or played against each other, athletes that I competed against, athletes that I coached or coached against, and people that I consider to be personal friends. And again, with this class of inductees, that is no exception. We meet those again. I feel like even though the people that were here ahead of me that I didn't see play, I feel as if I know many of them because Florence being what it is, I've heard about their exploits and their accomplishments for years from the people who are here. So for me, it's always a very, very, something I look forward to in that I get to share this great moment with these inductees. In my opinion, the Florence Hall of Fame plays an important role in our community. Athletics is an important part of any community as it helps tell the story of that place. And here tonight, we're here to honor these inductees that help tell the story of our home, Florence, South Carolina. The thing I find most rewarding, however, as I get older, is that when we talk about the accomplishments of these inductees, many of their accomplishments occurred when they were young people. But following their careers in athletics, most of them have gone on to become true community leaders in business, in education, in a variety of fields here in Florence and in other communities as well. And I think that really demonstrates the impact that athletics can have in someone's life. that following their careers, they continue to do these incredible positive things for their communities. So again, I'm glad to be here. We have a great program in store for you this evening. We're going to make sure that we recognize and honor the achievements of all of our inductees and give them the attention and respect they deserve. Right now, 2020 Board President Derick Urquhart has some special presentations.
Thank you, Bob. Adjust that a little bit. Each year, in addition to the inductees, we like to take the time to recognize the past season's state champions. This year, we were fortunate to have 2 teams win their respective class titles, the Kings Academy Sporting Clays team and the Kings Academy boys soccer team. Sporting Clays team is coached by Chris Mon, and this is one of numerous titles they've won. They've become a regular up at this banquet each year. For those of you who have been with us for a number of years, attended these, y'all will know that that's one of the best in the state. I believe one year they even won a national title. The boys soccer team is coached by Jared Perugini, finished with an overall record of 18-4. They defeated Beaufort Academy 4-2 in the state finals. Athletic director is Brad Boucher. I want to recognize those representing Kings Academy tonight, and there are 5 members of that soccer team, and please stand as I call your name. Ethan Myrick, Jackson Moya Mendez, David Russell, Trace Tucker, and Owen Waldrop. Please join me in a round of applause for these guys. All right, thank you guys, and we hope we have many more state champions next year to recognize.
Thank you, Derick. Our guest speaker this evening is literally someone who needs no introduction here in Florence, South Carolina. Dr. Allie Brooks served as the Florence area public schools for 40 years, 31 years as principal at Wilson High School, and concluded his career in education with Florence District 1 as superintendent for 4 years. Although officially retired, Dr. Brooks and his wife Barbara continue their involvement with the school system by mentoring and tutoring 17 students in 8 schools in Florence 1. Dr. Brooks is a member of the BB&T's Advisory Board and Family Promise. He also has served on the Boys and Girls Clubs of the PD Area Board, the School Foundation Board, and the Francis Marion Foundation Board, as well as the House of Hope Ministries Board. In 2009, Dr. Brooks received the Champion for Youth by the Boys and Girls Clubs of the PD area, as well as the 2009 South Carolina State Board of Educators Volunteer Award. He also received the 2011 South Carolina Retired Educators Association Educator of the Year Award and the United Way of Florence County's 2011 Ashby P. Lorimore Award for Community Service. A veteran of the United States Army, Dr. Brooks has impacted the lives of literally thousands of young people in the city of Florence. It's my pleasure and honor to present our featured speaker, Dr. Allie Brooks.
Good evening. To President Wade, to my friend Bob Wilson, to Mr. Derick Urquhart, to other members of the board for the Hall of Fame, to the inductees for tonight and their families, to the officers of Florence's City and County Council, board members past and present for Florence School District 1, other administrators for all of the public schools, public and private, here in Florence. Ladies and gentlemen, I do not take this opportunity as an opportunity to be taken for granted. I have attended this affair on previous occasions, and there have been many heavyweights standing behind this podium. And when I was contacted as a possible speaker and other names were given, I said, you don't have to worry. I was talking to my wife. They're not going to call me. Well, lo and behold, there is a policeman on the board that bird-dogged me about appearing. Her name is Missy Planner. And we were taking our grandchildren and children on a train ride. And she called the home, she says, and the phone, and I didn't answer. So she went to Facebook. My wife and I don't do Facebook. Email is enough. And so she found me and told me that the board decided that they wanted me to speak. So I consider it an honor to be here tonight to speak. And a special thanks to South Florence Athletic Director and Coach Bob Wilson for introducing me tonight on this special occasion for those of us who assembled here. And having had the pleasure of recommending and hiring him to serve as a classroom teacher, assistant varsity basketball coach, and athletic director, I consider Coach Wilson and his family very special to me. Coaching is the highest level of teaching in the education profession. And the reason being is that coaching, not only you're involved in being an instructor, but more importantly, coaching involves inspiring, motivating, and leading. And he and all the coaches that I see in here who I have worked with of all of my years in the district and in the state, we have some of the best people working with our children. I was going to call the names, but I see too many people here tonight, and I don't want to call a name and omit someone who deserves the recognition, both coaches, players, administrators. You ought to be commended for the service that you have provided for our young people. Oftentimes, as an educator, I run into people who say, I wouldn't have your job. And I say, I'm glad you don't. And I say that because we need people who care. If you don't care about children, you don't need to work with them. And I mean that. And one of the things I look for as a principal when interviewing prospective teachers, I check to see whether or not who they spoke to while they were waiting in the office. If they didn't speak to a custodian, that's somebody I put with a question mark. Because everybody is important. The title doesn't designate the significance of one's job. But before I get into my speech further, I see these young children here tonight with the families of many. And I'm reminded of a story I shared with the congregation at Mount Zion African Methodist Episcopal Church several Sundays ago. Sunday school teacher was concerned about whether or not the children knew Jesus and valued him. So she asked the question, where is Jesus? So one Sunday school student raised his hand, said, Jesus is in heaven. Wonderful, darling. Another one raised his hand, said, Jesus is in my heart. Another wonderful answer. Third young man in the back, I know where Jesus is. I said, where is Jesus? In the bathroom? I said, what? Yeah. I said, every week I hear my daddy go knock on the bathroom door and say, Jesus Christ, are you still in there? I think some of us can identify with that. I know I can. In terms of communication, I told you about Missy. This is a story about communication, and it illustrates the need for being very clear in our directions. A school superintendent told his assistant superintendent the following: next Thursday at 10:30 a.m., Halley's Comet will appear over the area. This is an event which occurs only once every 75 years. Call the school principals and have them assemble their teachers and classes on their athletic fields and explain this phenomenon to them. If it rains, then cancel the day's observation and have the classes meet in the auditorium to see a film about the comet. Well, the assistant superintendent said this to the school principals: by order of the superintendent of schools, next Thursday at 10:30, Halley's Comet will appear over your athletic field. If it rains, then cancel the day's classes and report to the auditorium where your teachers and students, where you will be shown films, a phenomenal event which occurs only once every 75 years. Well, the principals made this comment to the teachers: by order of the phenomenal superintendent of schools, at 10:30 next Thursday, Halley's Comet will appear in the auditorium. In case of rain over the athletic field, the superintendent will give another order, something which occurs once every 75 years. Well, the teachers made this comment to the students: next Thursday at 10:30, the superintendent of schools will appear in our school auditorium with Halley's Comet, something which occurs every 75 years. If it rains, the superintendent will cancel the comet and order us all out to our phenomenal athletic field. Well, this is the message that the students said to the parents. When it rains next Thursday at 10:30 over the school athletic field, the phenomenal 75-year-old superintendent of schools will cancel all classes and appear before the whole school in the auditorium, accompanied by Bill Haley and the Comets. Tonight, we honor this class of Hall of Fame inductees, their families and friends, honored guests, as well as welcoming representatives from the area high schools, administrative staff, school board members, both past and present, and Hall of Fame program organizers and participants. The accomplishment of each inductee are listed in our programs. What is significant to note are the accomplishments in becoming a pro in a career other than a sport. More and more, we are seeing evidence of the quote, athletics doesn't build character, it reveals it. And I said to the group assembled at lunch today here in this very place, there is a difference between celebrating an outstanding play in a certain sport, including a victory, and showing off. Unfortunately, we have witnessed some of our public schools and communities in an effort to pit athletics and other extracurricular activities against academics. It's not either academics or activities. It's academics and activities. Both are needed to coexist in our schools. Athletes and other students participating in extracurricular activities such as band, chorus, drama, art need to be applauded for their attainment of significant achievements while maintaining academic eligibility. The impact of athletics and other extracurricular activities upon a school's dropout rate and school spirit and in the military we call it esprit de corps. It's both measurable and immeasurable. Immeasurable because you cannot measure prevention. I share the stories with you that perhaps every coach in this room can share with you. A coach has more influence on some students than the classroom teacher, particularly those students who misbehave. Now, I know there are none in here that fell into that category. But for many schools, the one thing that keeps young boys and young girls in school is their opportunity to participate on an athletic team, in the band, in the chorus, on the drama club team, or some other extracurricular activities. Student discipline is positively impacted by athletics. In most schools, anywhere from 1/3 to 60% of the student body participates in athletics or some other extracurricular activity. I need to read to you for your, briefly, a reminder of the sportsman creed. The player lives clean, plays hard, plays for the love of the game, wins without boasting, loses without excuses, and never quits, respects officials and accepts their decisions without questions. The coach inspires players with a love of the game and the desire to win, teaches that it is better to lose fairly than to win unfairly, leads players and spectators to respect officials by setting a good example, is the type of person that he or she wants his or her players to be. The official knows the rules, is fair in all decisions, treats players and coaches courteously, and demands the same treatment. Knows the game is for the players and lets them have the spotlight. The spectator never boos a player or official, appreciates a good play, no matter which team makes it, knows the school gets the blame or praise for his or her conduct, recognizes the need for more sportsmen and fewer fanatics. I wonder if we had a vocabulary change in our schools. I mentioned the fact that we have some members of our faculties. You know, you go in a faculty meeting sometime, all the coaches are sitting on one side and all of the academic teachers are on the other. The physics teacher, the advanced placement teacher. There isn't any need for that. I wonder what would happen if the classroom teacher's description was that of being a coach. I suppose the students were referred to, as well as the employees in a school district were referred as teammates. There's an attitude change in that language. You treat a teammate differently than you treat an employee. There's a sensitivity there that doesn't necessarily exist when you're so busy being the boss. A boss does not lead people. A boss does not lead people. So having a position, you may have the position, but you not necessarily have the respect that goes with that position. Moving on, I want to share with you quotes from Coach Wooden and Booker T. Washington. Coach John Wooden, many of you remember, is known as the Wizard. of Westwood, University of California, Los Angeles. He won 10 NCAA national championships in a 12-year period, including a record 7 consecutive championships. My freshman year at South Carolina State, 1964 to 1965, the first year that UCLA got the championship. One of the players on that team was from South Carolina. He could not play at Clemson or USC, but he was on that team, all the way out on the West Coast. Kenny Washington was his name. Coach Wooten said, "Make each day your masterpiece. Don't take anything for granted." The sad thing about it is we have heard it said that tomorrow is not promised to us. We can modify that and say today is not promised to us, because things are happening across this nation and across this world where even in here, we pray that everybody will have a safe trip home. Things turn out best for the people who make the best of the way things turn out. Do not let what you cannot do interfere with what you can do, young people. Don't let anybody tell you what you can't do. Be more concerned with your character than with your reputation. Your character is what you really are, while your reputation is merely what others think you are. Talent is God-given. Be humble. Fame is man-given. Be grateful. Conceit is self-given. Be careful. Booker T. Washington said, "No greater injury can be done to any youth than to let him or her feel that because he or she belongs to this or that race, that he or she will be advanced in life, regardless of his or her own merits or efforts." Opportunity and effort are two words that we need to keep in the vocabulary of our children and our grandchildren. Every day we are given to get up, we need to make the opportunity to do our very best. And above all, be a good person. If nothing else, just be nice to people. It doesn't matter whether or not what political party you belong to. You know? Your handshake needs to mean something. And in athletics, on the team, you're loyal to one another. And there are a lot of lessons that America can learn from the teams when it comes to race, gender, and differences, period. Having these inductees here tonight, like those in years past, is a testament to their contributions at their respective schools. Again, we congratulate each of them being honored tonight. And may God bless all of you who put the time and effort in making this occasion one that will be an unforgettable one to all of us here in attendance. May God bless you.
He is a big man. Put us down. At this time, I'm going to ask Porter Stewart if he would come and give our invocation for our dinner.
Good evening. Let me get my bearings here. As I came tonight out in the hall, someone cornered me and requested that I perhaps pray for the Tigers. There's supposed to be an event coming up in a night or two. But which Tigers? So, as this has become somewhat of a habit, my partner 5 years ago, I'd encouraged to go to the national championship because I said, look, it's probably going to be once in a lifetime. You better go. And so for the 4th year in 5 years, he is going. So I guess it'd be safe and politically correct if we should simply pray that the good Lord would dispense humility upon our friends from Louisiana this week. I'd like to read, as I go to the invocation, a passage following a theme. It's been my honor to have been asked to participate with you here each year. This is the 15th year, and I do congratulate the organizers of the Hall of Fame for the excellent work and for the roster of honorees that now populate the booklet that's before you, and congratulations to each individual. And I'm reminded and inspired by our speaker tonight, thinking in terms of the spiritual aspect of that which gathers us together. And in that, in 1 Corinthians, looking at that which guides me, there's a passage there that reads, that we all are to be reminded that don't you know that you yourselves are God's temple and that God's Spirit lives in you? So it occurs to me that as we reach back and recognize those who are being honored, that sport and athletics and the accomplishments and all of the support system that's part thereof, including parents and family, community, teachers, coaches, teachers, teammates, all of that is a microcosm of that at its best as it should be. So the recognitions through this organization that honor the talents that were granted to individuals and represent the best, I think, is most appropriate. But the lesson for all of us, I think, is that as we all came into our own earlier in life and experienced the full range of the gifts of this temple that houses that Holy Spirit within us as we ourselves are taught to understand that within our understanding of faith, then as part of that, certainly, it's not just an end in itself, but within the context of sport, for instance, there's the team. So gifts are purposeful when they're shared with others, and so that which stretches us individually ultimately is to the greater good. That lesson is transferable to life in general, whether it's academics, whether it's community, whether it's a vocation. And so for me, as I've come here year by year and reflected upon this in a way to lead into an invocation in a meaningful fashion, I try to think in terms of how all these dots are connected and why, in fact, it is important, and how it is that in these recognitions that we celebrate that which is the best, reaching back in others, but also, I think, is representational of the best of us collectively. So in that spirit, please join me in prayer. Father in heaven, we do thank you that we are gathered here once more this year tonight to honor individuals for extraordinary accomplishment at a stage in their lives, which I pray has been an inspiration and a springboard both for them and for their families and the communities that they serve as representational of the celebration and usage of your good gifts. And so we honor that. We also recognize that in our lives, according to that motto that we understand as South Carolinians, that while we breathe, we do hope. And so to the extent as may be necessary, we pray for restoration, for reconciliation, for transformation, even as we celebrate. And in that spirit, we do pray that you would bless this food tonight to our nourishment, us to your greater service. and it's through Christ that I pray. Amen.
As we transition into the program to honor our newest inductees of the class of 2020, we'd first like to take a moment to recognize the past inductees that are in attendance this evening. So when I call your name or the person that's representing the inductee, if you would please stand, and if you would please hold your applause to the very end as we recognize our past inductees. From the class of 2006, Don Hood, Bobby Jordan, Pearl Moore, Jim Wall, represented by Debbie Wall. From the class of 2007, Billy Jeffers, represented by Jeff Jeffers. Bull Lee, represented by Pam Lee. From the class of 2010, Larry Alexander. Ken Lester, represented by his brother Dickie Lester. Glenn Rector. Lawrence Timmons, represented by Audrey Timmons, his mother. Derick Urquhart. From the class of 2011, Melissa Jarrell. Richard Sells. Mike Wilson. From the class of 2013, Dickie Lester, representing himself this time. From the class of 2014, Jerry Lee, Leslie McAllister, Debbie Wall. From the class of 2016, David Hanna. From the class of 2018, Barrett Kleinknecht, represented by Brenda Rayner. Skibo Turner. And from the class of 2019, Davy Gregg, John Holland, and Charlie Nelson. How about a great hand for these Florence Athletic Hall of Fame members? Thank you very much for coming out this evening. As we move ahead with our program, when I call the inductee's name and the presenter's name, we'd like you to come forward and to the stage and for the presentation. Our first inductee is Don Gardner, who will be represented by Dondi Gardner, and the presenter will be Chris Lefevre of Event Photos. A 1944 graduate of Florence High School, Don was a triple threat back, run, pass, and kick. In his senior season, Don was the second highest scorer in the state of South Carolina and selected to the Shrine Bowl, where he was named team captain. He received numerous scholarship offers before deciding on Newberry College, where he played one season before serving his country in World War II. Don both played and coached semi-pro football upon his return and stayed actively involved in sports as both a baseball and softball umpire. Congratulations to 2020 Florence Athletic Hall of Fame inductee, Don Gardner. Dondi, would you like to say a couple of words?
No, that's good.
I think that's a first. Our second inductee this evening, Terry Grantham, and the presenter of the Florence Athletic Hall of Fame and attorney with Turner Paget Law Firm, David Johnson. Terry is a 1971 graduate of McClinigan High School, where he played football, basketball, and baseball. In football, Terry played in the Shrine Bowl and was an honorable mention All-American. He received a scholarship to the University of Tampa, where the 1972 team was champion of the Tangerine Bowl. An avid fisherman, Terry is a member of the Southern Kingfish Association Hall of Fame and is the owner and CEO of All Star Sports here in Florence. Congratulations to 2020 Florence Athletic Hall of Fame inductee, Terry Grantham.
Well, thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. It's a real joy to come up here and be in front of all you people. So let me get my glasses on so I can see what I wrote down here. First of all, I'd like to thank the selection committee for inducting me into the 2020 Hall of Fame. It'll be a treasure I'll cherish for the rest of my life and time to come. You don't receive this award without other people helping you. And I'd like to thank a few players and coaches. And I'd like to start with Charlie Grace and Darryl Corbin, Wendy Porter, Brian Summerford, Sam Arazi, Joe Blanton, David Baker, and some friends, Buzzy Rogers and Tavis Turbo Grand, and special friends. Let me start with a few coaches. J.J. Jeffers started this whole process, taking me to the Dixie Youth World Series, Little League World Series in 1965. We played at Royal Elementary School and had the honor of sitting next to Bobby Richardson, second baseman for the New York Yankees. What a joy that was. Playing football and running track at Moore Junior High, and had the honor of Cleve McClary being my track coach and an inspiration to me. Playing junior varsity football and high school with Coach Larry McLaughlin. He was a joy. Not only could he coach, he was a great teacher as well to young men. Playing high school baseball with Fisher DeBerry was great. What a motivational coach he was. After Coach DeBerry came along and left to go to another college to coach, Coach McLaughlin came to coach the varsity baseball team. He always loved baseball, and he always let the players do the coaching. He said, y'all know what to do, just go do it. And we did. Played high school football with Coach Jim Wall. I saw Debbie here tonight, and what an inspirational coach he was. And after Coach Wall left, Coach Latson Cubbage and Coach Sharp took over. Coach Cubbage put in a new offense, the triple option. We learned how to run that triple option with precision. This led to my selection to the Shrine Bowl game and the North-South All-Star game. What a great time that was, and met a lot of nice people. Playing American Legion baseball for Coach Larry Hatchell. He was a fabulous coach. He knew how to coach young men, and what a nice person to be around. He was responsible basically for me getting the offer from the New York Mets to play professional baseball. And I'd like to thank Fran Kersey, who recruited me from McClinigan High School, but he left to go to the University of Miami before I even got there. And I accepted it. That, and then Coach Bill Fulcher came in to the helm for 1 year, and he left. Then came the late Earl Bruce. A lot of y'all might remember him from the Clemson episode years ago, but he was the offensive back coach during that time, and he took us to the Tangerine Bowl. He could get the most out of coaching players and on and off the field. He was another Fisher DeBerry. He could really motivate you to do the right thing. We played Kent State in the Tangerine Bowl that year and just happened to play against Jack Lambert, all All-American high school player, All-American college player, and also All-Pro for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And on that same team was Nick Saban, University of Alabama head coach. Now, didn't know that till after the game he was on the team, but my last year came Dennis Frizzell. He was head coach my senior year. Graduated in 1975. Had an offer from the Houston Oilers to play football, but didn't make a whole lot of money back then, so off to work I went. In closing, I'd like to thank the real Hall of Fame people in my life. My mom's in attendance tonight. She's 93 years old and going strong. I'd like to thank my wife of 44 years. Without her, I don't know where I'd be, but I'd like to thank her for a love of me and the patience with me, the love of family, and her love of laughter. I'd like to thank my 3 sons, which was the name of my fishing boat, Wayne, Austin, and Charles. Wayne has 3 boys, William, Andrew, and Thomas. Austin and his wife, Emily, and their daughters, Ireland and Ellington. Charles and Tana, and their daughter, Hunter. Thank y'all for putting up with me. I appreciate that. I know I probably left a lot of people out that I should have thanked, but you don't have very long to get this done. But once again, I'm honored for being chosen for this award. I will cherish it the rest of my life. Thank you for all coming.
Our next inductee into the 2020 class of the Florence Athletic Hall of Fame is Wallace Buster Holland. And Buster will be presented by Chick-fil-A Laura Staunton. Buster is a 1965 graduate of McClinigan High School, where he was a 3-year letter winner in baseball and team MVP senior year. Buster played college baseball at the Citadel, starting as a catcher all 4 years. His senior year, he led the Southern Conference in hitting with a .413 average and was named All-Southern Conference and Honorable Mention All-American. He was inducted into the Citadel Athletic Hall of Fame in 1991. Congratulations to 2020 Florence Athletic Hall of Fame inductee, Buster Holland.
Wow. Safe for an old man to have a lady. I was thinking before I came up here that I went to school with Debbie Wall, and we didn't have any female inductees this year, but needless to say, I am honored to be inducted into this particular Hall of Fame. I'll be joining my brother John, who was in last year, and of course my brother Smitty, who follows. Some say I probably was bootstrapped into this particular Hall of Fame, but I'll take it any way I can get it. Needless to say, the Holland family loved baseball. Most of the inductees tonight are multi-sport athletes. The only sport I ever played was baseball. I didn't do a whole lot in Florence, and it makes this particular induction into the Florence Hall of Fame special to me. I lived in Charleston for 40 years practicing law, but for the last 7 I've been back home on the farm. I left Florence when I was 16 years old to go to the Citadel on scholarship, baseball scholarship. My brother Smitty was already at the Citadel, and I suspect I got that scholarship because I had caught him playing baseball My daddy took the position he was going to have a good pitcher. He ended up with 2, one following us, but the other one had to be the catcher. I caught brother Smitty until he got to high school. I played baseball in high school as a sophomore at the age of 14 for Debbie Wall's father, Jim Wall. That was the year before Fisher DeBerry came. Jim Wall gave me the opportunity to compete at a high level at a very young age. Unfortunately for me, I caught behind Vic Correll, a member of this Hall of Fame, who of course later on went on to be a Major League Baseball player with the Atlanta Braves. But the opportunity to play and compete every day in practice, which is where you learn. You play like you practice. Then my senior year, when Vic and Smitty had graduated, I got to play catcher. And by the grace of God and with the help of my parents, I was able to go to the Citadel on scholarship. Unfortunately, I went to the Citadel at the age of 16, and I could not play baseball on the varsity sport. Back in those days, freshmen could not play baseball on the varsity level. So I did not get catch you, Smitty. But I saw Smitty have an outstanding year where he was the nation's strikeout king. Unfortunately for the team, but good for Smitty, he signed and went professional. So my sophomore year, when I could play varsity ball, Coach Chow Port, who did everything in the world to inspire me to be a better ball player, by that time started all sophomores, and the Citadel got into a winning tradition. I thank Coach Port and all of the coaches that coached me. I go back and I look at Jeff Jeffers. Billy Jeffers and J.J. Jeffers were the Florence Recreation Department, and we had as good a Little League program as there was in the state. I played Little League baseball for 6 years, probably the most outstanding accomplishment I had in the city of Florence. That means I started at the age of 6. That's impossible today. But Jimmy Calcutt was kind of their field, member of the Hall of Fame. He was a boxer. He was kind of the field person, and it was short, and I got to play. I was always used to competing with older people. But the city of Florence and the recreation department, particularly the 2 Jeffers, were special. They treated us and everybody else in every league as willing, as being able to do whatever we needed to do to learn a lesson. I played under another coach named Fisher DeBerry, which you heard Terry talk about. Fisher was obviously very inspirational. I played under him a couple of years, and Fisher taught me one very good lesson. If you run your mouth, Buster, you're going to run the bases. Because I had a habit of running my mouth. I was a young kid who didn't know what to do, and he taught me a very good lesson. When I got to the Citadel, Coach Port taught me even more lessons. The most important thing Coach Port taught us when we were starting as all sophomores was, in baseball as in life, nothing stays the same. You get better or worse one day at a time. Now what does that mean? That means if you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, you're a coach, as Dr. who preceded us with an inspirational speech, you're either a better coach tomorrow or you're a worse coach tomorrow. You're either a better lawyer tomorrow because you learned something, you worked at it. And he also told us, you work on your strengths, Buster. You work on your weaknesses, Buster, until they become your strength. I thought I was a pretty good catcher when I went to the Citadel. I wasn't that much of a hitter. I grew up and I got strong and I learned to hit. But I couldn't catch a pop fly. Anybody who's a catcher in the room knows when a pop-up goes up for the catcher, it goes up and comes back from over your head. And it's kind of hard to catch when you're looking back. But you turn around and catch it like an infield, and I never played out there. I always was behind the plate with a mask. You'll learn to do it. What I did for the first 15 minutes of every practice, I went down to catch pop-ups that he had somebody who knew how to hit them. You work on your weaknesses till they become your strengths. That was a pretty good lesson for me to learn when I became a lawyer. Getting better or worse one day at a time was a pretty good lesson. Baseball, like all other sports, teach you lessons in life. I thank the good Lord that I was able to play the game. I'm grateful to my family for coming. Obviously, we were very close. I got a text from my brother this morning to my brother Smitty that basically said, we're lucky and blessed to be so close to each other and to our God. My mother and my father preached that we needed to love God and love thy neighbor. And I think we would solve a lot of problems today if we did that. We can't achieve that, as we know, but we can certainly try. Again, I thank the board and I thank the selection committee for the wonderful job that they do, and I thank them for including me in this family affair. Thank you very much.
Our next inductee has the same last name. Would Smitty Holland and Chris Timmons from Chick-fil-A please come forward? Smitty Holland, a 1964 graduate of McClinigan High School, where he excelled in both football and baseball. In football, he was defensive MVP for the 1963 season, but it was baseball where he truly excelled. Smitty had an 11-1 record as a pitcher his senior year, including 3 no-hitters, and was named team MVP, as well as the Rainwater Award winner for top male athlete at McClinigan. Smitty played baseball at the Citadel 2 years, and in his sophomore season was the NCAA strikeout leader, averaging 14 strikeouts per 9 innings. In 1966, Smitty signed a professional contract with the Philadelphia Phillies and played 6 years in the Phillies organization with a career ERA of 3.45. Congratulations to 2020 Florence Athletic Hall of Fame inductee, Smitty Holland.
Okay, the last Holland, okay? You know, and this, I didn't write this down, but it's been over 5 decades since I've been involved in an athletic event here in Florence. What a way to end it. What a great way to come home. First, I'd like to thank the Board of Directors and the Selection Committee for this opportunity to be selected as a member of the Hall and this walk through memory lane. Thanks to Chick-fil-A for sponsoring this event. Secondly, I'd like to publicly thank my older brother, Dr. Fred Holland, for his nomination of our family. Without our knowledge, he worked tirelessly and researched all the information to present to the board. Thanks, brother. Now, I think most of you are aware very few athletes are successful on their own. The good Lord gave me the ability to be a gifted athlete, and he placed special individuals beside me. These were coaches, teammates, and family that guided, supported, and directed me along the way. My father, he was a baseball man. I remember the day he signed me up to play small fry baseball at Harley School when I was 5 or 6. This was before the T-ball concept. He coached me in Little League, and he always had those coaching tips my entire career in baseball. My mom, she was a great cheerleader, supporter, and a life coach. She saw to it that I never missed a practice or a game. You know, everybody didn't have a car back then, and we commuted 12 miles into town. Give her a bag of peanuts, and she'd cheer to the end. Florence Rec, the Moose Lodge, the American Legion Post, McClinigan High School, the Citadel, and the Phillies. Without them, I would have not had the opportunity to play. I had super coaches and role models. My dad, Buck Wells, J.J. Jeffords, Rod Urquhart, Jim Wall, Bob Dunlap, Bob McLean, Ladson Cubbage, Fisher DeBerry, Chalport at the Citadel, Dallas Green, Al Widmar with the Phillies. I had great teammates. We all know that one player can't compete on a football or a baseball field alone. At my age, I can't recall all their names, but some are players like Ross Thames, Jim St. Clair, Johnny Lanford, Vic Correll, Curtis Thunderbird Ford, Buddy Rainwater. Buddy, thanks for befriending that country guy from Mars Bluff. You taught me to duck hunt, and I taught you to hang tobacco. There were many other players in my professional career. Dave Bennett, Bob Boone, Buck Martinez, John Vukovic, and a lot of others that you probably heard of. Of course, there was my brother Buster. I don't think my dad gave him a choice when he said, "Get down there and catch your brother." He and I and Brother Fred had a lot of fun. You know, that's what we did. We played baseball. There were no cell phones, computers, video games. Between the three of us, we played every form of baseball you could play, from roller bat to half rubber. I don't know if you've ever played half rubber, but you know, that's a challenging game. My brother Fred, when he used to come to bat, he used to like to be Hank Aaron. He liked that wrist action, and he had him down pretty good. At this point, I'd like to share a personal story. Okay, I had a pretty good year my senior year in high school, and I dreamed of playing college baseball on scholarship. Well, now I only weighed 140 pounds soaking wet. At one point, I thought I had a chance to go to a top baseball school in the upstate. You know, that's that school that's playing for the national championship. But I was told by the college coach at the last minute that I was too small, and he was sorry, no scholarship. Well, that's only the beginning of the story. My brother Fred came to the rescue. It was mid-July when I got the word, and the school year was to start soon. Unbeknown to me, my brother Fred had been pumping Eddie Teague, who was athletic director at the Citadel, with newspaper articles from my senior baseball season. You know, Jim Littlejohn, the sports writer with the Florence Morning News, he loved to like to write about his local talent in great detail. Well, Eddie Teague did call me, and I had my scholarship, and I was signed up for my plebe year. Right. I was excited about the scholarship, but being a plebe, I was a lot anxious. But without the exposure to college baseball, I'm sure the opportunity to play professionally and a chance to chase another dream would never have happened. Thanks again, brother. And finally, one last tidbit, a little trivia. You know, I was a pretty good fielding pitcher too. I made a number of outstanding catches, but I remember the most spectacular one of all. I even remember the exact date, December the 22nd, 1966. That's when I caught my wife, Elaine. It's hard to believe that a guy from South Carolina would have to go all the way to South Dakota to make that catch, but I did. Elaine was by my side as we chased that dream across this US of A, from the plains to the west coast to the eastern seaboard. She's been by my side for 53 years. She's been my rock, my cheerleader in this game of life. She's lifted and pushed me when I needed it. She's been a mother to our 2 daughters and an awesome grandmother to our 4 grandchildren. Thank you, Angel, for being a major player in my life. And I thank my family and friends for loving me and having been here tonight on this special occasion. And finally, I thank God for all his blessings. Thank you.
Our next inductee is Scotty Keefe. Scotty will be presented by Chick-fil-A Mark Drummond. Scotty is a 1987 graduate of Florence Christian, where he was a three-sport athlete playing soccer, basketball, and baseball, playing on state championship teams in all three sports, and being named Player of the Year in soccer and basketball. Scotty then went on to Francis Marion to play baseball, where he was twice named All-District and was District 6 Player of the Year as a senior. In 2000, he was inducted into the Francis Marion Athletic Hall of Fame. Following graduation, Scotty went into coaching at Florence Christian, where he has won numerous Region Coach of the Year awards in both baseball and basketball. He currently serves as Florence Christian's athletic director, dean of students, and baseball coach. Congratulations to 2020 Florence Athletic Hall of Fame inductee, Scotty Keefe.
Let me say thank you to the committee and the board members as well, to the sponsors and everyone that has a big part of this. It's such a nice event to be a part of and to come back and be recognized, and as someone said before, kind of go down memory lane. And on one hand, it seems like a long time ago, but it seems like just yesterday when you start thinking about the memories and different things that went on. And I also want to thank the other inductees as well and their families. Congratulations to them as well, being a part of this induction class with me tonight. I want to start out by recognizing some special people, and that will be one of my moms here. I'd like to thank her, and my dad, who's not here. Excuse me. He went to be with the Lord about 5 months ago. And he would really cherish this moment. I'd like to thank my wife. She's here. And we'll be celebrating our 25th anniversary this June. And she's my rock too. And she's the best mother and wife you could wish for. I'd like to recognize my children here, Corley and Joshua, my two children. And then, of course, my younger brother, 14 months younger, who constantly challenged me, pushed me. If you talk to him, pull him to the side, he'll tell you he won most of the one-on-one competitions we had, whatever sport it was. And he went on out to Francis Marion and played a couple years with me out there, and that was special. So I thank him for pushing me all those years and giving me the support. I want to thank the community and the fans. You've been really good to me in my high school days, supporting me, and then Legion, and then out at Francis Marion, and even when I signed with the Flame team, just outstanding support. It's just been phenomenal to be able to play here in this community and get everyone's support and come out and support me all those years. You know, when I got the phone call that I was going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, first thing is, you know, it was real humbling to be considered and then to be a part of so many great people, as you've already heard, and the inductees that's been inducted in the past. That's the first thing that overwhelmed me, to think that I'd be, you know, considered to be a part of it. But it's also an honor to be able to represent, my family and my Lord. And I want to thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, because without him, none of this would happen or even be possible. And I know you hear a lot of people say that, but I truly, truly mean it. I also want to thank another group of people, and that's my coaches. You've heard a lot of these inductees read off all the coaches that's had impact in their lives. And that's so true in mine as well. When you start playing ball around 5 years old, you go through a lot of different coaches over your lifetime. And I had a high school coach at Florence Christian who's actually here tonight. Thank him for coming. Coach Glenn Rector, he's in the Hall of Fame, as you've already seen. He had a big impact on my life all through my high school days. Not only was he my coach, he was my youth pastor. And meant a lot to me those days. And I want to thank him for coming. I also want to thank the late Tom Davison. He came out and watched me play soccer a lot, watched me play baseball, kind of recruited me. And he was a big part of my life. And then Coach Griffin as well. Not only was a coach, a good friend through the years, done so much for me. He gave me the opportunity to go to Francis Marion and get a good education and to play the game of baseball, really not at my expense. Took care of it all. And I appreciate, that over the years for giving me that opportunity. Just a small fact, a lot of you probably don't know, I was actually a walk-on at Francis Marion. Remember having several opportunities, colleges calling, talking with us about soccer, hard to believe, playing soccer, and then basketball. Actually had a little more interest probably to play college basketball than I did baseball at the time. But I remember my dad sitting down with me. It got to that point we had to kind of decide what avenue I was going to take. And I remember the conversation, I'd really appreciate, if you probably stay home, go to Francis Marion, give it a shot 1 year, and go out there and play. If you don't like it, you can go elsewhere, and I'll support you 100%. And that happened to be one of the best decisions I made, was staying here locally and playing for Francis Marion and Coach Griffin. And I'm a small country kid from a small town in Pamplico that has just one caution light. I went to a small Christian school, and I say all that to say, back in the 80s, you just didn't have a chance if that was your story. And I was told that quite often, But as my brother will remind you, I was left-handed. And as a coach, there's always a room for a left-hander on every roster if you can throw strikes. And that happened to be me. I had an opportunity. But you know what they didn't know, those coaches, I had desire. I had a vision of what I wanted to do. And with the Lord's help, I listened to my coaches. I worked hard and got out there and did the best I could do. And things worked out for the best. And I say that, I see a lot of young people here, no matter your circumstances or your situations, they can't see what's in here. And work hard, and the Lord's will, it can happen to you as well. I just wanted to also, I brought up the young people. I got a table over here that surprised me tonight. That's most of my baseball team there at Florence Christian came out to support me, and then First Sergeant Robert Pridgeon, who somehow won something tonight. That thing must have been rigged or something, but appreciate them coming out and supporting me and being here for me tonight. I'd like to conclude. We only have a short time, and I want to conclude with 3 points I'm going to leave you with tonight. Number one, we all going to live our life for somebody. Who you living your life for? Is it for yourself, or is it for someone else? Is it for stuff, material things? When Matthew 6:33 says that seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you. And I made that decision years ago to live my life for the Lord. and it's made all the difference. Secondly, we all got a purpose. You know, God created us for a purpose, and we each have a purpose put here on earth. Is it for you? What is it? Think about it. Is it to make a lot of money? You know, nothing wrong with money, believe me. It's nice to have money. It's a lot easier to do things with money in its right place. Is it to climb the ladder of success? Is it about the Hall of Fame? 1 Corinthians 10:31, whether therefore ye eat or drink or whatsoever you do, do all to the glory of God. Whether it's coaching, playing the game, attorney, construction worker, whatever it may be, that applies to all of us. And with that in mind, I think we should seek to worship Him, know Him, have a relationship with Him, and then whatever that is, bring honor to His name. Lastly, and most important, there's that word eternity. What you gonna do with that word? We all gonna be there one day. You know, I just lost my dad, and we all gonna die. And we gotta answer that question. Where are you gonna spend eternity? We all gonna spend it somewhere. 1 John 5:13 states that, "And these things been written unto you that believe on the name of the Son of God, they may know," not think, they can know that they have eternal life. What hope and blessing we have in that. I just want to thank you all for giving me this time and opportunity to be here. I'd like to tell a lot of stories because I have a lot of them, but we're on limited time. And I want to thank the committee again, everyone, for putting on such a grand event tonight. And I'm just honored to be a part of it. Thank you.
The next inductee for the 2020 class of the Florence Athletic Hall of Fame is Kermit Moore, and Kermit will be presented by Lindsey Timmons, who is the father of Florence Athletic Hall of Fame member Lawrence Timmons. Kermit is a 1974 graduate of Wilson High School, where he played both baseball and basketball. A 300 hitter in baseball, Kermit also excelled on the basketball court, earning MVP honors his junior year and All-City honors his junior and senior seasons. Upon graduation, Kermit played basketball at Sheridan Junior College and later at St. Leo College and Coker College, where he led both teams in scoring. Kermit has long been involved in athletics in Florence, in coaching, officiating, as well as mentoring young athletes. Congratulations to 2020 Florence Athletic Hall of Fame inductee, Kermit Moore.
Good afternoon. I haven't a whole lot to say. I just wanted to thank the people who really got me started. One is Mr. Theodore Lester. He's no longer with us, but he really had a lot to do with my growing up. Also, Larry Alexander is in the audience. As a child, mentored me from that stage on. And also Mr. Robert A. Durant. He's no longer with us, but he's also had a lot to do with a lot of young athletes I know from the Wilson era at that time. He's been strict with us and also giving. And my mother and father and my sisters and brothers also. My family, my daughters, my sons, and grandsons. My sister, who we always had a little thing going with us, and that'll always be there, I know. And I want to thank you guys for showing up for this opportunity, and I appreciate it, and I thank God for all He's done in my life and in the life of my family and friends. Thank you.
Our final inductee this evening is Micah Young, and Micah's presenter will be Florence 1 School Board Member Davy Gregg, who is a 2019 Florence Athletic Hall of Fame inductee. Micah is a 1991 graduate of South Florence High School, where he starred in both football and baseball, earning 4 varsity letters in each sport. As a senior, Micah was All-State in both football and baseball. In football, he was the #1 ranked linebacker in the state and was the defensive MVP of the Shrine Bowl. Micah went on to the Citadel to play football, where the 1992 team went 11-2 and won the Southern Conference Championship, and Micah was named All-Southern Conference. Micah entered the coaching profession as defensive coordinator at Wilson High School, where the Tigers won 2 region championships, and he coached a number of Division I linebackers, 2 of whom, Justin Duran and Lawrence Timmons, became NFL players and are both members of the Florence Athletic Hall of Fame. Congratulations to Micah Young, 2020 Florence Athletic Hall of Fame inductee.
Now, although I'm not as old as some of these other ones up here, I still got to get glasses. First off, I'd like to just reiterate what everybody else has talked about. Especially thank you to the board. Something that I don't know that anybody else has mentioned, but I would like to thank the members of the Hall of Fame that are already in. I can remember growing up and Don Hood coming to the ball field and signing baseballs. My father got him to come out to Greenwood School and sign some baseballs out there. I can remember the first time I hit a home run in high school. I hit one in 9th grade against Wilson. And I remember after the game, my daddy goes, "You know what, you hit it, but you didn't hit as far as John Holland used to hit them." He used to hit them in that pecan tree out there in the middle of behind South Florence Field. You guys are what we looked up to. And this is what it's all about. I've been teaching 20 years, coaching 20 years. Dr. Brooks gave me my first coaching job. This is what it's about, doing these things for these kids and having y'all role models out here to be there for them. And we're losing them. We're losing them. I'm going to come back to that in a minute. I got to get to thanking some people. I want to thank the coaches in my life. I have 4 of them. I have 2 brothers, a father and a mother, coach me every day of my life. Every day. Every day it was football, every day it was baseball, every day it was something. Okay, and I want to give a special thanks to my father. I don't know if there's another family who had 3 sons that get Division I scholarships. And one family. Oldest brother decided to stay in Florence, the other brother went to the Citadel. I, of course, attended the Citadel. Did a lot of great things for us, and I appreciate all the sacrifices that you made for us. All right. I'd like to thank Coach Watts, Coach Wright at South Florence. Without them, I don't know what I'd be doing. I'd probably still riding skateboards because that's what I like to do in 7th and 8th grade, ride those skateboards. But playing football, they got me into it, and the baseball coach, Jimmy Weatherford and Jimmy Miles, when I was in 8th grade, I want to give special thanks to them. And Coach Taft at the Citadel. And I know he's not with us, and he's been gone some time now, but special thanks to Jerry Nettles. Had an unfortunate thing. I was a Clemson commit. I was going to Clemson, was going to play for Clemson, and then Danny Ford resigned. Then I was going to be a Gamecock, and right before that happened, Sparky Woods decided he wasn't going to offer me my scholarship, and then I was kind of in the wind, and then Jerry Nettles showed up at the door with Charlie Taft, and boom, I was at the Citadel. That's how I got there. So a special thanks to Jerry Nettles, and the Lord does things the right way, and everything's worked out with me going to Citadel. It's been the greatest experience of my life. Another thing I'd like to bring up, and I don't want to get too political about things, but I'd like to tell y'all, we need some help. Education is a little bit different today than it was when I started 20 years ago. I remember Dr. Brooks told us one of the first days, he said, education is not about what's in these textbooks. That's a big part of it, but it's not everything, right? Today, more than ever, knowledge is not what it used to be. And I have one somewhere. There's the knowledge right there. These kids can Google any answer to any question you got. It's about relationships and communication. And you don't learn relationships and communication as well as you do when you're on a baseball field or a football field or a basketball court or wherever. Chorus, band. We need help in those areas. Y'all past Hall of Fame inductees and community leaders and things like that, y'all just don't realize the power of coaching. And it's taken me 20 years and I'm still learning. But these kids are our future. And like I said, we need a dedication towards athletics, chorus, band, and things like that, because that's where the future is. The future is in communicating and getting along with other people, different races, different religions, different socioeconomic backgrounds, all those things. That's where it's at. And without athletics, I just feel like this is where we're going. Whole life is spent stuck on this thing right here. So again, I want to give a special thanks to y'all for doing this. I mean, this is incredible. I'm so honored to be a part of it. I'd like to thank my wife and my son. My wife, I was in the banking business, y'all. Citadel grads, you got to be bankers or lawyers, one or two. And my wife said, "Man, you're miserable." She said, "Why don't you take the NTE and become a teacher?" And I took it, and I did. And it has probably been the greatest blessing in my life. It really has. Like I said, I'm finishing up my 20th year right now, and I've been lucky enough. I've coached 4 Hall of Fame inductees. Davy Gregg being one of them. Did he leave me? Davy being one of them. That's been the highlight. It really has. I enjoy being a player. I enjoyed all those accolades and things. Don't get me wrong, but I'm gonna tell you, being a coach it's topped it. It really has. It's been a very special part of my life. And again, I'd like to thank all of y'all for coming. And I'm going to try to cut it off because I know everybody's ready to get out of here. But I just want y'all to remember that as you go out in your own separate ways and in your communities and things like that. The things that we do are going to directly affect these 16, 17, 18-year-old young men that are out here. And women, sorry. We need to do better. And that's my call to y'all. Let's do better. Let's put more people in Florence in this Hall of Fame, because that's what's important, and that's what's going to lead us into the future. Thank y'all.
At this time, could we have all of the class of 2020 Florence Athletic Hall of Fame please stand? How about one nice final hand for the 2020 Florence Athletic Hall of Fame? Congratulations to each and every one of them.